Yo, what's going on, guys? GZTV back with another video, and in this video we are going to be discussing from what I've heard from this fan base, this is probably the most controversial episode of the entire series. It is a season 7 opener. The day will come when you won't be. I think that's what the episode's called. I don't know, you can read the title, whatever. But yeah, we're going to get through the plot, critic reception. I know there are some mixed reviews about this one. I'm kind of late on this video, honestly. I need to get into this. I need to watch Dexter and try to get as far through The Last of Us after this as I can, because I got a decent amount of homework today. So, yeah, let's just get going. Cornered by Negan and his men, Rick and his group continue to be forced on their knees in front of Negan to pledge servitude to him. So, his group of people are going to be forced to, do shit or else they're going to die. All the power is in Negan's hands. Rick is, for the most part in the show, Rick has been able to overcome groups like this, but nope, not this time. To further coerce them, Negan selects one of them to bash in their head with Lucille, a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, which is kind of like a continuation of what happened in the season 6 finale. We are now going to figure out who actually got hit in the head. At first I assumed it was Rick, but then again, Rick would not have survived this. And I figured that out quickly. His selected victim is Abraham, who remains defiant after the first strike. It's disgusting. It's probably some of the most disturbing shit I've ever seen in a TV show. He gets smacked. Oh my god. I don't even know if I want to talk about this episode. Negan proceeds to pulverize Abraham's head to a pulp as the others recoil in horror. No, he didn't just hit his head a couple of times. Abraham is not just dead, his head is just smashed. He's unrecognizable. When Negan presents the blood-soaked bat to a horrified Rosita, Daryl leaps up and punches Negan, but is quickly subdued by Dwight and two other saviors. And you're kind of surprised that Daryl doesn't die here, but I guess Daryl is too important of a character. But there is another important character that dies, and that's what makes this episode so controversial. Negan states he will not tolerate such behavior and punches the group again, this time by bashing Glenn's head, much to Maggie's anguish. Obviously, she can't believe it. Oh my god. It's horrifying because Glenn's alive after 2 of the hits. His eyeballs out of his head. It's fucking gross. As the group watches in terror, Negan continues to smash Glenn's head in the same manner as Abraham's. So Abraham and Glenn have died. After witnessing Negan kill 2 members of his own party, Rick quietly vows to the Savior's leader that he will kill him someday. He's seeking revenge. I don't know why Rick is doing this, though. Unfazed, Negan drags Rick to the group's RV, announcing that he will be back, and if Rick isn't with him, his men have permission to kill the rest of Rick's gang, because there's no point in keeping them if he kills the leader, right? After taunting Rick, Negan drives off and brings the RV to a stop near one of the Savior's roadblocks by an overpass, amid a horde of walkers in thick morning fog. It's kind of like this interesting atmosphere that the show creators have created here. I've never seen the dynamic of so much fog in the walkers. I think they might have had something like this before, but I don't know. Negan then tosses Rick's hatchet onto the RV's roof and orders Rick to retrieve it before pushing him out of the RV. And it's like a test. It's kind of like a test to Rick. You gotta get this RV before your people die. Amidst the heavy fog and smoke, Rick scrambles for safety in the RV's roof and sees a walker body dangling from the overpass. He begins to have flashbacks to the deaths of Abraham and Glenn, but Negan becomes impatient for Rick to return and starts firing up through the roof to kind of help him, to get him the axe. And yeah, immediately Rick jumps to the hanging corpse, but slips and falls, dropping the hatchet. As the walkers swarm around his rival, Negan fires onto them, giving Rick the chance to collect the hatchet and return to the RV. Negan drives off. So yeah, he gets the RV, he gets the hatchet, he gets back into the RV, and they drive back to the group. I'm just trying to make this review as fast as possible. Not that I don't care about this show, it's just I kind of gotta get some other shit done, you know. As Rick sits in silence, Negan drives back to the clearing and hauls Rick from the RV. Reunited with both groups, Negan explains to Rick that he hoped that the trip changed Rick's mind about him. He saved his life or whatever. There's no changing anyone's mind about Negan. He's a piece of shit, and probably one of the biggest pieces of shit we will ever see in this show. Since Rick still refuses to submit to him, Negan forces Rick to his knees and has his son Carl lie prone next to him. Oh, goodness. If this would have happened, this would have made the episode so much more worse. Negan then warns Rick that he will order his men to kill every member of Rick's group and those back at home, Alexandria, if he chooses not to cut his son's arm. So, like, there's a bunch of trials that Negan kind of puts him through. Maybe to make him a part of, like, the saviors, you know? However, Rick begs Negan to let him take Carl's place instead, but Negan refuses. Like, just kill me, that's fine. But then again, the rest of the group would die as well. So it's kind of selfish. Hyperventilating and sobbing in anguish, Rick picks up the hatchet and braces himself to cut Carl when Negan stops him at the very last second, satisfied that Rick has finally submitted, like he was actually about to do it, and that's all that Negan wanted to see out of him. So he stops him, he's like, no, you're not going to actually do it. Negan then goes on to announce that he and his men will show up at Alexandria in 1 week to take 1/2 of Rick and Company's supplies. They're pretty much, so, yeah. After seizing Daryl's hostage, Negan and the Saviors leave the group in despair to kind of let them deal with what the hell they just witnessed. Oh my god, they're just like sitting. It's so disturbing. And they're like free though. They're not fully in Negan captive. Like, they're not. There's just they can live in their own society. But Negan's taking half their stuff, and if he tells them to do something, they have to do it. After the group reels in shock and grief, Rick tells a heartbroken Maggie, still suffering from pregnancy complications, that they need to get her to the Hilltop Colony's doctor, because that's like the only medical guy around. However, Maggie urges that they all head back to Alexandria and prepare to fight. She wants to get revenge on this group, which is very stupid. I don't know why you would want to do that, given what the hell just happened to your group. Rick counters, saying that they will all die if they go after Negan and his army, like seeing kind of what their capabilities are. The group insists on continuing to the hilltop, but Maggie demands that they do not follow her. Sasha volunteers to escort Maggie to the hilltop to recover, along with the bodies of Glenn and Abraham, to kind of bury them and memorialize them. As Walker slowly approaches, Rick picks up his hatchet and joins the others in the RV. Saddened, Rick has a vision of his entire group, including Abraham and Glenn, as well as Maggie's yet-born child, enjoying a peaceful outdoor dinner in Alexandria before coming back to reality and realizing Glenn's never going to see his kid, Abraham's never going to reconcile with Rosita, or his relationship will never form with Sasha. Through the right-hand side view mirror, Rick sees a lone walker eating the leftover blood remains of Abraham as he drives away. Just a very disturbing image to kind of take us away from the show. Yeah. Jeffrey Dean Morgan played great as Dean in this one. And you know, the character development of Negan is great. Very mixed positive reviews in this one. Rotten Tomatoes 66%, 7.03 out of 10, 50 reviews. The flashback line "and the day will come when you won't be" is slow to deliver the payoff from last season's finale, but ultimately delivers with sadistic acts of gut-wrenching violence that will push Walking Dead fans to their limits. 6 out of 10 on IGN. It crossed a line, but not one of gore or death even. Not necessarily. It basically broke the final shred of trust in the show to service characters over gimmickry. A C- in the AV Club. This is possibly the worst episode seen by the AV Club so far. The show is so stupid that it thinks we're stupid, prays we're stupid, crosses its fingers, and hopes like hell that its legion of loyal, obsessive followers will rend their garments at the horrible death of a fan favorite, but still be back next week. This was, to put it mildly, uncomfortable viewing. 45 plus minutes of torture porn mingled with something even more unpalatable. This wasn't so much entertainment as psychic evisceration for the fans. I've had a lot of issues with The Walking Dead of late, especially with that genuinely terrible Season 6 finale, but I probably still would have called myself in general a fan of the show until this episode. A lot of people, this just ruined the show for them, like killing Glenn. Nevertheless, its most admirable qualities have increasingly been overshadowed by some more distasteful ones, not merely in demonstrating just how brutal humanity can be, but just by toying with its audience. It was miserable and tedious and made me feel bad, not in an emotionally compelling way, but in I could be watching something of value way. A D- for IndieWire. The most shocking reveal is just how low executive producer and showrunner Scott M. Gimple and Walking Dead comics creator Robert Kirkman are willing to go for the sake of sensationalism and torture porn. Some people liked it. Den of Geek gave it a 4 out of 5. Anyone hoping for an incredibly bloody hour of murder and mutilation, the likes of which we've never seen before on The Walking Dead, should be pretty pleased with the season 7 premiere. 5 out of 5 on Sci-Fi Now. Sometimes shows need a game-changing moment to jolt the formula and stop things from getting samey. If any show is in such dire need of one, it was The Walking Dead, and it has definitely got that. Welcome back. 10 out of 10. IGN Benelux called it a masterpiece. In light of the negative feedback, they tamed some of the more gruesome scenes that were in the episode being filmed for the second half of this season. That's what they were planning on doing because it was so brutal to people, I guess. This is not a show that's torture porn. Let's make sure we don't cross that line. The violence in this episode was purposely over the top for the narrative, is that the awfulness of what happened to the characters was very specific to that episode and beginning of this whole new story. It did not reflect a baseline of violence they wanted for the series. Like Scott Gimple and them, like seriously, some of these episodes were so heavily criticized that they had to come out and say, like, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. You guys gave us feedback, like obviously they want the feedback. They're not going to do it anymore. So yeah, they like took away all of like the violent shit that happened later on in the season. They realized that's not all people want anymore. Like at the beginning it was cool, but now people are like, well, give us something else, you know? Like just give us something else. Yeah, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm out. This episode was ridiculous. I don't know. I've never seen a TV show or a TV episode quite like this one. It was wow. It was something. I'll still watch this. Obviously, people said this ruined the TV